microphone's not working.
Well, he can have my second, he can have my echo.
Yeah, right.
No.
Roger, can you unmute him?
How about now?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I've been carving quite a bit, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I've been trying to do a little bit of hand carving, and I just keep defaulting back to my Automock, the reciprocating carver.
Yeah.
And I've been doing like, where are you?
There you are.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That and
What's the black? Is it a dye or a paint?
just India ink.
Okay.
And then the doctor's
Stuff.
walnut oil and microcrystalline wax and buff.
So using that Automock thing, how long does one of those bowls that take to do like that?
Well, the first one took a little longer than the second one. The second one took a little longer than the third one. It's like something like this, probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
How do you hold it? That's the tricky part.
The Automock?
No, how do you hold the bowl to carve it like that?
Oh, so if you'll see, I actually had the tenon still on it when I painted it and carved it, then painted it.
So you carved it on the lathe.
Then I put it on the lathe. Yeah. Well, actually, it was in the Trent Bosch holder thing.
Okay.
Those are nice. I've got one of those.
Yeah, it works pretty well once you get the hang of it. You really have to clamp it down pretty hard. So I just have a wooden mallet and I bonk on the handles. They're made like a bomb, so they're bomb proof. So yeah, been doing that, and this was another one that was I bleached that one. I don't know if you can see
those are nice.
very well. Anyway,
good job.
Then I just did a big one. I just carved it yesterday, but I haven't painted it or embellished it at all with painting or bleaching. I haven't decided what to do yet with it. But I really like that Automock. It's I'm learning a lot about grain and how you can carve into, against with the grain against the grain and where it tears out. So
you need to join our Carvers Guild.
Yeah, just another boy.
One more meeting,
I did a presentation on power carving tools last week.
I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the YouTube video of it.
Yeah.
That was good. You have a lot of tools, Roger.
That was embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a lot of tools.
You don't see them until you pull them all out.
You never see them all at one time, so you don't realize that the vast spread of tools.
It was funny because I was like, I wonder if he has a Ford. Oh, yep, he has a Fordham. Wonder if he has the power carve. Oh, yep, he's got the power carve.
There it is over there.
Blades he's got for that thing. I wonder if he has the mini power carve. Yep, he's got that too. Okay.
I've got all these carving tools, but I use them very seldom.
Yeah.
And I've got the Merlin too, which is actually a nice little.
Yeah.
The miniature chainsaw carver, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
I bought I don't know why. I had a project in mind and I promptly forgot about it. One of the ball carvers that you put on your angle grinder.
Yeah.
And that works really well.
Yeah.
Those Arbortech one.
Arbortech, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the Arbortech plane, which I've started to use quite a bit just to level up blanks.
Yeah.
The bandsaw.
I got an email from Arbortech, the marketing department or something, and said they wanted to include me in their virtual Makers Fest that's coming up. And I was like, I'd love to do that. The problem is I've never used an Arbortech before. So
someone saw your piece and assumed that's how you did it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I told them maybe next year.
Want to try that?
Yeah, I told them maybe next year, but they were like, and the good news is we'll send you out like whatever you want. And I said, well, I've never done
It's
it.
like one of each.
Yeah.
Now their planer actually works really well. If you've got a rough surface on a blank,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
just flatten that out really
Or not-
well.
Or like slow curves around,
Yeah, really any
If you haven't seen this guy, he's on YouTube, and my gosh, he is so inspirational. His it's called From a Seed, FROMASEED. He's out in it's Tasmania or Australia, I think it's Australia, and he uses every single different power carving tool they're known to man, and boy, the designs he makes. Does some on bowls, but mainly it's just sculptures, wall sculptures and such.
Yeah.
But his techniques are great to learn from, and what he uses are really great. So it's From a Seed on the YouTube. Anyway, that's my carving.
Yeah, put it in chat.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've been making a bunch of these. This is way thin. This one's probably, I'll bet the wall thickness on this one's maybe at the most a 16th. And for doing piercings in,
Yeah.
and
So have you pierced it yet?
not yet. My dentist just gave me a bunch of bits to go into my tool, and but I set up my I was doing them by hand, and I blew a couple of them apart because well, that last cut did it. So I set up that Simon Hope hollowing arm, which gives me a way better control, and it doesn't beat me up. So I've done, this is I did 6, but 2 of them, like I said, didn't turn out so well. They became little plates. But I'm going to start piercing on these ones. But
Are you going to use a design, or are you going to do it randomly?
this one, there's some symbols I'm going to do around the top of this one. This is for my daughter-in-law, and it's going to be the yin and yang, and then a couple of other symbols around that my son sent them to me. They have relevance to her, but her birthday's coming up. So.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, 2 of them, I did them by hand without setting up the stabilizer, and that last cut.
It's never the first one, it's always the last one, right?
Yeah, and for the piercing, the one thing I did learn about the experimenting I've done with piercing is the thinner it is, the better.
That's for sure.
Yep.
The difference between 2 mil and 2.5 mil is big.
Oh yeah. It especially, I mean, you can still do it. It just takes a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
And if you're piercing a bunch of little tiny holes, and every one of them is, the faster you can do it, the better flow you can get. So.
Well, I have a friend of mine who asked me if I can turn some spheres for him. I said, sure. Let me show you what he's making.
Oh,
He's a fly fisherman, and
right.
he's making these things to
I recognize the Danville thread.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Fly.
either that or he's making a COVID model.
Right.
Yeah.
well, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to go off the COVID virus thing, and it's sort of interesting.
That's
What's
cute. I
So
like
you're turning a sphere. Are you putting a flat spot on it for him so that it'll stay upright?
Well, so I turn the sphere, And then I cut it in half, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then, so at the last minute, he said, well, I've got these, I'm going to put it on a, like a, what do you call these little swivel things that you swivel a
Lazy
plate?
Susan.
Yeah.
Lazy Susan, yeah.
So it's a 4-inch, about a 4-inch square. So he said, can you route out like a 1/4 inch so I can put that in there? And I said, sure. Well, routing, it took me more time to route out that little recess than it did to make, certainly make the sphere. And we were talking about power carving before. So I took my huge Fordham with the biggest, coarsest bit I had and used that to, well, I started out with a Forester bit. So I did a 2.5 inch circle on the recess, get most of the wood out, and then took these, then did the rest with a power carver.
Wow.
And it's just dusty as hell. So he asked me to make some more, and I said, sure, but you can do the recess. Not that you do the sphere, but you
Yeah,
can
that or do the recess before you finish the turning.
Yeah.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
There's a tip for doing cutting your spears in half. Start with 2 pieces of wood glued together with a paper glue joint.
Right. That's
Turn
what I
the
was thinking.
spear and then use a chisel and a mallet to separate the 2 halves.
Yeah.
Works like a charm.
No, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
No,
That's a
that
great
was,
idea, Jim.
I just took it, I did it by hand. I just held used both hands to hold it and had a line down the middle and took it slowly through the bandsaw. Probably violated every safety rule in the book, but.
And most of them.
I was gonna say, yeah, I would, as an essay, I would have kicked you out for doing that.
Yeah, I know. I had to kick myself out too.
Turn your back, Harvey. You don't need to hear this.
Yeah.
So as long as you were wearing your face shield, you're good.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your steel toe shoes.
That's right.
So anyway, so that's that was a fun project. But he tried to explain what he was going to do with the spears, and I couldn't visualize it in my head until he showed me one. It's sort of cool.
How do you put the pegs in, or how do you orient the holes?
He did it on a drill press, and his only comment was, he said, I wish I paid more attention in geometry when I was in school.
Very often true. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's actually a good idea. Every fly tire has a thread dispenser of some sort. So mine is up on the box there, but it's that's a cute idea. I like that. Put the COVID to use.
So Arnie had a good, yeah, Arnie's here. Arnie had a good question about drying Madrone. And so I thought I'd open that up for everyone to talk about their Madrone drying experience.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people come out and pick up Madrone, and oftentimes the question is, how do I dry it? And you know, the technique that I've heard is boiling it. But some people boil the wood before they turn it, some boil it after they turn it. So I was just wondering, generally, what do people do and how well does it work?
I've never done anything like that. So
I know Dale Larson, Mr. Madrone, of course, he works with burls almost exclusively. But you know, he'll cut them, seal them, and then when he gets enough, he has this big old horse trough that he sets up on his propane grills, propane boilers, and he'll actually put all of them in there and just boil them in this trough. And you know, he's never had one crack. So I guess the boiling works.
It's after he rough turns them, right?
No, I think he's boiling hunks.
He published a thing a while ago, and it was just recently on the AAW forum.
Right.
And yeah, it described he rough turns it first, and he said he boils it for a couple hours. So I kind of followed his thing. I turned this one to about 3/8, and it has an inclusion at the bottom, but I boiled it for about an hour because it was thin after I was done. and
Oh,
no cracks. It's dry. It's gone oval, but I got a little carried away and didn't leave much of a 10 in the sand. It was, but figure that out later. But it's drying really well. So I don't know if it would have done the same if I hadn't boiled it.
And it still moved even at a quarter of an inch, you said?
About 3/8.
3/8?
It's a little thick for once turned. Compared to what I normally do, but it's done good. It's held its shape pretty well.
Huh. Yeah, you can see.
What does boiling do?
It's supposed to relieve the tension in the wood.
Yeah. There's something about the Madrone cellulose fibers are very tightly packed. And if you don't relieve the tension, they unwind on their own.
It's super, super wet too. So I could see it drying super unevenly and that causing issues too.
Yeah, right.
And I think boiling kind of equalizes the moisture content and dries out any resins that might slow it down too. What I had trouble with is I turned this little cherry burl hollow form, and you can see it's kind of lumpy, and it was actually way worse. And I threw it in with that Madrone when I boiled it, and it plumped up perfect like when I had first turned it. But now it's gone back like this. So I was wondering if anybody has experience with like pentacryl. If I plumped it up again and soaked it in pentacryl, would it hold its shape better as it dried the second time?
Maybe, probably not.
Really?
There's a Japanese finishing method. They actually just use heat to dehydrate the cells. It shrinks the cells so the surface gets waterproof. You can make pine actually waterproof. So once you've shrunk the cellular dimension, it doesn't really go back. You can fill it up again, but it's still gonna snap back. Is there enough
what
to
happens
sand
in
it?
the microwave?
Yeah, I think so. Does anybody besides me remember when Husseluk blew up our microwave?
No.
Yeah,
I wasn't around then.
over at
Any other
Camp West.
techniques other than boiling?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are there any other techniques people use for Madrone to dry it out other than boiling?
I think you could
Boiling.
try the normal method, just either sealing it or wrapping it in cellophane. But
yeah. I do this. This is a big piece of cherry with a lot of sapwood on it, and I just put first of all, actually, this is a single turn thing, but I have a bunch of other blanks that that have sapwood on it. So I'll take the shrink wrap stuff that I get from Harbor Freight, and I think I bought it once years ago, and I still have tons of it. But you can just put that around. First I put the paste on, or just like a Johnson's wax or whatever the cheap paste wax is. I'll put that on the end grain, and then if it's fruit wood, I'll probably put it around the whole thing, and then put the shrink wrap around it, and keep it low on your shop floor for a little bit, where it's coolest and most moist, and then just babysit it really, and make sure there's no cracks. And if there are cracks, just put a little thin CA glue in it to discourage the cracking.
you mentioned they had sapwood. Is
Hi, it's Carol.
no matter how
Joe's going out your way, and he's gonna leave
mute them.
a book.
There we go.
Does that matter how you do that?
The sapwood in fruit wood like cherry, I've found really distorts it and makes it want to crack because it's so different than the heartwood of it. So Dale said to me before, he goes, just get rid of the sapwood. Just don't even have any sapwood in your bowls. So,
Yeah.
but I think he's striving to make, the perfect round twice turn bowl.
Yeah, but it does add some feature to it with a different color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have issues with mold putting the plastic on there?
In the winter, yes. In the summer, no. What I'll do is I'll wait for the paste wax to dry on the floor for a day or two maybe, and then I'll do that. And if I do see any mold, sometimes what I'll do too is I'll do a bleach solution and just spray a little bleach on it. Usually just with the lighter woods, because those, for some reason, you see the mold more, I guess. And then I'll let that dry, and then I'll put the shrink wrap on.
Okay.
And when I say dry, it's not, it's still moist wood. Yeah, Jim?
It feels cold. It's
Yeah,
just,
my comment to Kevin is, I'd leave it lumpy. I think it's selling in a nanosecond in a gallery.
yeah. I don't really have any choice. It's too thin to do anything else with, so I'll
There
just,
you are.
and I already sanded it to 220, so I'll just finish it up and cut the tenon off.
So
Yeah,
what
to
makes
your
it
point,
lumpy?
Jim, lumpy is good. Lumpy is
You can't see
unique.
this.
What makes it lumpy?
It just dried so unevenly. It's got a lot of burls in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of little cracks too from it, but I think they look fine. I'm not too concerned about the cracks. There's a good one there, but it's not that bad.
Probably grain orientation because it's the burl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I had somebody dropped off 2 pieces of wood on my step, and it's Jatoba.
Jatoba, yeah,
Really?
it's a really, really hard wood.
Yeah.
Well, one of them is, this one's 6 by 6 and the other one's 12 by 12, and they are extremely heavy for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know
Brazilian,
how to
Brazilian
do it.
cherry. Is the other
Yeah.
name for that.
Yeah.
Be careful
I've
of the
been-
splinters.
I've done flat work with it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Has a lot of chatoyance to it.
It characteristically, it seems similar to Purple Heart, and then I've got some Liptus that's extremely hard.
Yeah.
So, and the Liptus, the splinters, you got to be really careful.
Yes. Also with Jatoba, it's one of those. It's not a Dalbergeron, but it is very high in some sort of phytotoxin. I got a splinter. I was making a table with it. I got a splinter in my thumb. The next morning, it looked like a Vienna sausage. It was swollen up.
Wow.
Yeah. So be careful.
Well, the person that dropped them off, she said that her ex-husband had left them. They'd been in the garage for 20 years. And she just found them in there and dropped them off on my step.
Well, thank you. 'Cause it is beautiful stuff.
I was gonna say, you got nice giving friends.
Yeah, I was going to take the smaller one and make her a bowl out of the smaller one.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for it to dry.
No, it's
It's true.
it's dry, and I was surprised at how heavy it is. When I went to pick it up, I'm like, wow, it's pretty dense.
Yeah, it is. But it cuts beautifully, takes detail. It's just really nice to work with.
Did it say five? Did it say? Did I see that it said $5 on that blank? Jatoba $5.
And
It is 20
$10
years
on the
old.
big one.
Sort of
That
basic
ought
right
to
there.
tell you how old it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, her ex-husband bought it at a Northwest Woodturners auction,
Whoa.
like years ago.
Huh.
So she didn't figure it was worth much. She figured $15 is what it's worth. I think it's probably worth a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Just a little.
That's interesting. Does anyone know when Northwest Woodturners started? How old are we?
It goes back to the days with Tuck when they met at Woodcraft. The
21.
original charter is in the paperwork. It seems like it goes back into the 80s,
Hmm.
82, 83.
Wow.
Yeah.
We predate Cascade.
No, it's after
It was an offshoot of Cascades.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just got, the crosstown problem was just as bad then as it is now. And, they got big, and I think there was some difference of opinion. That happens sometimes.
Among wood turners? Surely not.
Oh, yeah. Put two wood turners in a room, you get three opinions on everything.
Yep.
At a minimum.
Yeah. And so they just, just partly for convenience, partly for independence. Not everyone gets along with Dale Larson. I do.
I do.
Yeah.
He's
Hey, by the way, Mike, you were plugged quite heavily yesterday on Glenn Lucas's demo.
I saw he was doing a demo. Yeah.
Yeah, he finished up his platter with your stuff and spoke very highly of it.
Yeah.
He's been doing demos all week, he said, in the States, so I'm sure he's plugging you all over the place.
Yeah. I sent him a Beads of Courage bead because he says he didn't have any. It's not a thing over there, but he wants that's a great box demo. So I sent him some of the top off beads. And
Nice.
Glenn's used the walnut oil for a long time. I said, Glenn, the best walnut oil in the world comes from Italy. You're an EU country. You can get a deal. What's the problem here?
Yeah. Adam Luna is doing a demonstration at noon in Spanish.
See,
that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm a co-host on it, but I don't speak Spanish. So my whole job is to see if anybody types questions in English.
And what are you going to do with them if they do?
I'm going to tell them this is a Spanish only demonstration.
Well, keep your Google Translate open and just pop them into the translate.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I do. I set both laptops up.
Yeah.
I have one that has the Google Translator in it.
Yeah.
FYI, Northwest Woodturners was founded in 1996.
96?
Yeah.
Really?
Tom Tuck was the first president.
Yeah, the newsletters. If on the newsletters, we have the volume number, and I don't know if it started the first year, but we're on volume 26 right now.
Well, that'd be about right.
Yeah.
Huh.
We'll have to think about doing a 30-year anniversary something when that comes up.
In 2016.
Yeah, maybe we'll all be back meeting by then.
Yeah.
Hey, I got my first vaccination.
All right.
I get my second one.
I got both of mine a while back, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I just gotta say, looking at the video here, I can't believe I got both of them, and some of you only have one.
I got my second one on Tuesday.
Yeah, I got mine because I'm a caregiver to an old geezer.
Nice.
I found out up in Woodland, Washington, they were throwing them away, so I went up there last month and got my first one.
Oh, cool.
I got both of mine because I'm an old geezer.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, I got my second one Monday, so.
You
I got mine. I was
get-
fully vaccinated by Easter, so I figured I was 2 weeks before Easter, so I was good.
Good.
Mike, you decided to get vaccination even though you had the bug?
Yeah, I know. I agree. As much a believer as I am in cellular immunity, you're going to have to document that you've been vaccinated. We're seeing the vaccination passport era starting. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, I put my vaccine record right in my passport, so if I need to show it, I got both of them.
Yep. And
the other thing that I think is going to be interesting is at least sounds like Pfizer's recommending annual boosters.
Well, of course they are. It's their business.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with all of the variants coming out, they may actually have a point.
So you get a flu shot every year.
I think it's maybe like a flu shot. Just maybe they'll combine it into one shot eventually.
The problem is the variants that have been analyzed so far, that the vaccine is directed against the spike protein. Okay, that spike protein has been conserved through all of the varieties of coronavirus thus far.
Yeah.
The variants are no different. Where there are variants are in the nucleic acid replication mechanism. The spike protein is the same. So we'll see. I don't blame Pfizer for saying you need it yearly though. They got enough
No.
invested in it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't blame any of them for saying that because, they invested a lot of time and effort and money into it.
Yeah.
And they need to get their money back.
Although, to make a vaccine that way, the effort is not in making the vaccine. The effort is in getting the vaccine into the arm in a usable form. I mean, before I retired, I could have made the vaccine in my lab and just taken it immediately, but I couldn't stabilize it. That's what the cost is.
Yeah.
And finding that mixture of medium chain fatty acids that'll wrap around it and make a little micelle and keep it active enough to get into the muscle. That was the trick. But anyway.
Did you
I'm
have
sure
any
too, there's more to
reaction to
go.
your second vaccination?
No,
I had no
first one
reaction to mine other than a sore arm.
the first one I was sick as a dog. And my wife was too. She was sick from both of them because we had both had COVID before.
Oh, your body was already reacting to it,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it knew what was going on.
Which is, and that's actually the good news.
Yeah.
The day after my second one, I just felt like I was on Vicodin all day. Just felt
Yeah.
kind of out of it.
The second one I had a sore arm and a little but the first one I got it down at the convention center, which was an impressive spectacle if you haven't seen it.
We did ours at the airport.
Yeah. By the time I got back on the interstate, I was starting to feel kind of punky.
Wow.
So, let's hear it for cellular immunity.
I got my first one and my arm didn't even get sore.
Yeah, same here.
Good for you.
My son got it. His arm was sore and he's got a little bit of a headache after the first one for like 24 hours and then he was fine.
Yeah, my wife had a
I was tired, but that was about it. But I also got Pfizer. I didn't get Madrone, which was evidently
I got
worse.
Pfizer.
Yeah, Pfizer. My wife got a knot on her arm the size of a golf ball. And it was impressive. It was red, it was hard.
Wow.
Wow.
The immunological triple threat, edema, erythema, and wheal. She hit them all.
Yeah.
Well, we can't all be tough old salty Coast Guard guys like you, John.
So I was at my son's house like right after the vaccination, and my son and his sister-in-law were saying that their arm was sore and they felt a little run down for 24 hours. And I just said, well, I didn't feel anything. And Clara says, well, how come you didn't feel anything at all? And we both did. And my grandson turns around and says, that's because Grandpa's tougher than you two.
And you wouldn't admit it anyway. So
I would have admitted it.
I didn't have any soreness, but my wife was fine for first shot, and then second shot, like I touched her arm and she screamed at me. So she was in pretty bad shape.
well, like I said, that is the good news. If it goes unnoticed. Anyway.
I was surprised that both of them had a vaccination because they've had COVID, or they had a reaction to that.
But you're going to have to, even though when I went in the first shot, the CDC says if you've had COVID, a single vaccination is probably enough, regardless of what kind it is. So I took my antibody reports and I said, look, can you sign off on me? He said, nope, got to have two. All right.
Yeah.
We'll get two.
You never know.
The risk of telling somebody they don't need a vaccination is frighteningly high.
Yes.
Well, if in a year from now, maybe you want to travel to Europe or somewhere else out of the country and they're going to require proof of it anyway.
Yeah, so hopefully, we had a trip scheduled to Italy and Greece this April. That didn't happen. That was the second cancellation of that trip. We got it on for next April also. So, but every time we get canceled, they give us 125% of our money back.
Woo!
I look at one more time and I got the trip paid for.
There you go.
But we have a trip through the Panama Canal, checking off things that I want to see in my lifetime. That's in December. And I think that will probably go. But you're going to have to be able to prove you've been vaccinated.
Yeah, I was looking at the CDC guidelines for travel this morning, just randomly, and vaccination doesn't allow you to travel to other countries.
No.
You have to do a COVID test before you go, and then you have to do another one on re-entry to the US, regardless of whether you've been vaccinated. It's kind of interesting.
That actually is going to have to change because the vaccination is going to have to be worth something. I mean,
Yeah, one hopes.
You see that shit show in Congress with Fauci and Jim Jordan, international asshole.
Yeah.
He actually has a point that when does the vaccination actually start to count for something? You know, and when ideally when we get to that 70, 75, 80% total population vaccinated, then being vaccinated will be enough to get you in and out. You won't really need the test. And
so as long as we're talking about this stuff, apparently Oregon and a lot of states are now having a fourth surge.
Yeah.
So how's anybody dealing with that? I mean, for us, I think even though my wife and I are both 2 weeks beyond second vaccination, we're going to kind of keep staying in. Because
just don't travel to Michigan.
Yeah.
Or Texas, you know.
Yeah, Michigan's much worse than Texas.
Just yet.
Texas hasn't been
Texas
surging.
is just getting their legs, you know.
I think the question for us is, you know, last month we decided to open up in May, and things looked pretty good back then, but now with the resurgence, I don't think we need to change our plans for May, but it was a surprise that things weren't going to keep on the same good trend that we were on. But, you know, I was asking my wife, you know, when are we going to start going out and doing stuff? Because they say, you know, after 2 weeks after you have your second shot, then that's about as good as you're going to get. And when are we going to stop wearing masks and stuff? I don't know. I still,
you know, and that's a good question. You know, I wear a mask just not to be mistaken for a Republican.
Yeah.
Hey, careful
Yeah.
there.
I've been caught outside taking a walk with the kid and, you know, forgot my mask, but we live in a neighborhood where there's lots of other people walking around too. And even though I'm fully vaccinated and 2 weeks past it, get a little bit of shame and guilt about it, right? Yeah.
We have wide streets, and I've never worn a mask around our neighborhood since it started. You know, I just crossed the street or whatever, and most people do the same. So that hasn't been an issue around here, but anywhere else.
I mean, for me,
you were joking about Texas, but their cases are still going down, and you know they're not picking back up like ours are. I think everyone that's going to get it has already got it down there.
Yeah.
Well,
or
maybe,
or
but
they've gone home to Michigan for the summer.
I was reading this morning that Texas is worried because if they lift the border restrictions and let everybody come across, the number of infected people coming up from south is high.
Yeah. Yeah,
thought
the southern border states in general probably have a little of that influence from the illegal crossings.
I thought the governor of Texas had forbidden Texans to get coronavirus. Is that not right?
Yeah, he tried. He couldn't get
say you can legislate all you want, but it's not going to stop the bug.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months as far as cases going up and down.
You know, what we will see is that cases will continue to go up. Deaths will go down because we've learned how to treat coronavirus infections. There are options other than not getting it. There are options for treating to minimize fatalities and minimize, you know, truly serious. The problem with the coronavirus thing is that once you can be sick and you can get over it. A lot of people don't get over it. There are residual effects that are proven to be pretty serious.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not extremely common. But the more cases you get, even the less common things start building up a fairly good sized population.
Right.
Yeah.
So
my daughter got it before it was actually identified as corona, and her sense of smell and taste are still wonky.
Yeah, we were early adopters also.
Yeah. Didn't realize that with that term.
You were bleeding edge.
Yes. No, we called it in California. You want to get sick, go to California.
Yeah, well, she was in LA at the time. So
Yeah, we were in San Francisco, you know. We were in Santa Clara County the day the first death was recorded. They had not been identified yet. But no, my wife got it, was sick and done. I got it, I was sick, and smell and taste. This is a year ago. Taste came back, or smell came back pretty quickly. Some things still taste wrong to me. So
Get away with drinking cheap wine.
no, that's actually the cheap wine actually tastes terrible. Good wine tastes really good. But you know, white wine, there's a flavor in Riesling. It's called petrol, and it smells and tastes like brake fluid to me. And
Oh.
that's what all white wine tastes like to me now. So anyway,
I came out to your house right before you had your symptoms.
well, actually, we were in that class.
Yes, and we
Yes.
we did the wood burning class.
Yes,
With Janice Levy.
Janice Levy and Hannah and I, you know, both had. We did. We took Janice and White to dinner down at the German restaurant there.
Gustav's.
No, they're in Multnomah Village.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah,
around the corner.
I think I was there for dinner.
Otto and Anita.
Yeah.
You know, we sat right across the table from them, and neither one of them got it. We were both contagious as all get out.
Huh.
So
So Bill, your son just went back to college. What are they doing now for classes and stuff?
Oh, there's still remote classes. There's no meeting face to face. Even outside, they're hoping. Well, actually, they just about less than a month ago, they made the statement that they will return to normal classes in the fall, but that remains to be seen if it keeps, getting these third, fourth, fifth wave of cases. Yeah.
Are they
It's pretty-
offering vaccine shots there at school?
Yes, they are. They have clinics there, and I think they do that. They do mandatory testing as well every certain time. But it's pretty. I'm not quite sure if they were well, if anyone was ready for this to happen. But a college town where you've got a bunch of hormonal kids out for the first time. That's pretty crazy. He caught it. He caught it about 2 months ago. And I'm surprised that it took him that long to get it. Although he's been really good with masks and all that. And he joined a fraternity, but most of the things that they do are all just remote, just like classes. So he spends most of his day in his room. He's got a roommate, but all his classes are online. And if he goes out, like the only thing that's open for food, I mean, they've got all sorts of restaurants and things there, but the only thing that's open is the one place to grab and go sandwiches that are there. So
where's it?
I mean, I wish he would have stayed home this year, but
yeah.
Where's he going?
U of O.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I got one of my coworkers, his son's at U of O as well. So.
Yeah.
It's too bad. You're really missing the college experience.
Oh man, I just he missed senior prom and senior fun days and stuff in high school. Didn't get to walk, for graduation, and his first year of college is sitting in a room.
Yeah.
The only good thing is he's got a triple room, but with only one roommate, so he's got a little more space.
Yeah.
But I mean, he loves to work out. He lifts the weights and stuff, and they closed the rec center, which was like right next door to his dormitory. So he's not even able to go lift weights, and he's just,
Hey, send him a Gorilla Bar. Have you seen those?
Gorilla Bar.
I think it's a weighted bar of some form.
No, it's a Gorilla Bow. It's a bow with replaceable strands. I've started using this thing. It's great.
You shoot arrows out of it?
Well, you could if you wanted to, but it's a, you stand on the bar and you use this as the exercise, and you can do anything with it you can do with a barbell, and you can vary the weight up to 300 pounds or so.
So you step on the elastic and then you lift the bar with your hands?
Right. Or,
I can't see what you're doing, but
You're
Putting in his teeth.
however you want to restrain it, but it takes little space, it takes up no space at all. And, you can do any sort of resistance training you want.
Can you change the bands?
Yeah. It comes with about 6 of them, and you can put 4 in at a time.
Wow.
So you can vary the weight however you want.
Huh.
It's very useful. And
That's neat.
it's hanging back behind the door. So it's out of the way.
I'll take a look at that.
How long have you had it, Mike?
Since January. And it's easy, it's useful, it's right there.
Yeah.
You can watch TV and work out, and you can do anything. They send you a book, so anything you can do with a barbell, a weight, a resistance training exercise, you can do with that. And you have basically infinitely variable weight.
On Amazon?
Cool.
Yeah, Gorilla Bow, not bar, Gorilla Bow. And sometimes you get desperate to buy things. Like I bought a new grinder. I didn't need a new grinder. It's like skis. You don't really wear them out. You just get tired of looking at the graphics.
What kind did you get?
I had a 1 horsepower Rikon.
Nice.
And
the low speed or the high speed?
Low speed. Yeah. And Woodturner's Wonders has been pretty good about promoting my products, so I started buying some of his stuff. And one of the things I was going to I'll have for the grinder, the sharpening class, is a Kodiak grinding system. And it's easy, it's clever, it's straightforward. Like he says, if you can remember A and B and count to 4, you can sharpen any tool. And it works pretty well. The grinder is great. But the nice thing about it is you can buy it mounted on the stand that holds the sharpening system. So everything is perfectly lined up. There's no, fooling around with the Wolverine doohickeys. So it was very interesting. So we'll have that for the sharpening class too for people to look at.
Neat.
The grinder is great. It's somehow, the half horse grinders, they take longer to come up, but that's not really the thing. There's just no resistance. You put a tool on it, even a big tool like a skew chisel, it could care less. It just grinds through it. So, yeah.
Nice. I have their platform stand that with the locking thing, and because I'm trying to learn to freehand sharpen, that I really like because it's very stable once it's locked in place.
Yeah.
No, I saw on their website, I think it's the same company, they're selling I guess it's a lubricant stick that you put on the CBN wheels that keep it from clogging up.
I got that.
Is that something that's worthwhile, or is it just sort of?
Well, so I think it makes sense. That's why I got it. And then they had something that mentioned that incidentally you could sharpen, you can't sharpen normal steel on a CBN wheel because it'll load it up.
Mm-hmm.
And they said if you put this stuff on, then you can actually do a little bit of that. So I tried it and it loaded up my wheel. And it took me several days to get the wheel clean. So I still think it's good for its initial purpose of just helping keep the wheel clean, but it didn't work for me for softer steels.
How did you clean the wheel?
Well, I tried cussing at it a lot. That wasn't really effective. And then I tried denatured alcohol, and that didn't do very much. I bought a little I found on Amazon a little stone that's alleged to be a CBN cleaning stone, and that helped. And then WD-40.
There you go.
That
All else
combination
fails.
of all that stuff got the stone pretty clean.
Have you tried that? I think it's, what is it called? Like a slick stick. Have you tried that on bandsaw blades?
I have not.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
was
good
gonna
thought,
mention that. I saw that in the little video they do on it to lubricate your bandsaw blade. I thought, yeah, that might be something worthwhile looking at.
Makes sense.
Hey, speaking of bandsaw blades and kind of cleaning and stuff, I was over at Dale's. He was helping me cut up that big cherry that I had. I couldn't fit it on my bandsaw at all. But he did a little trick that I had never seen before. After he had cut everything on the bandsaw, he took like a cabinet scraper with a good right angle on it, and while he turned the saw off, and instead of breaking the blade to stop right away, he let it spin out, and he stuck the cabinet scraper on the blade itself, it back of the gullet,
behind
so
the
it
teeth?
wasn't going to cut it or anything, but he scraped all the pitch and stuff off of the blade on both sides, and it really, it cleaned the blade. So
wow, that's neat.
That's something that I've always had problems with. Trying to clean the blade after you cut wet wood, and then I forget, and then it gets clogged, and then you take a day to try to clean the blade off. And
there again, WD-40 will work really well for that after the fact. But also, the rubber bars that you use to clean sandpaper. Yeah, that'll work on your bandsaw blade too.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, just sort of a art gum eraser thing.
Will it work if it's dried on there, or is it?
I don't know. Not as well as if it's not dried.
Yeah. That's my problem. I always forget, and then it dries, and I'm like, oh.
Well, leave yourself a note on the bandsaw. Clean the blade.
Yeah. The alternative is to get yourself a blade cleaner, take it off, and do it that way. But,
The scraper sounds quick and easy enough to actually do every time, right?
Yeah.
That's
just
the
get a
problem. It takes
dedicated.
so long. You want to get the
scrapers
piece
are
of
cheap.
wood.
Get a dedicated one for it.
You want to get the piece of wood on the lathe and not take the time to deal with it. But if it's quick, it's easy.
Yeah.
Because I've been soaking mine in oven cleaner. Get one of those oil pan containers where you use to dump your oil when you change your oil in your car. And then
I found for my table saw, I just use washing soda and water, and then rinse it real well. Rinse it with hot water, and it cleans up real nicely.
Marvel Mystery Oil works really well for that also.
I'm a fan of using Simple Green.
Yeah, Simple Green works good too.
Anybody sharpen their bandsaw blades?
I don't have the patience.
Cindy Drozda has a really good video on that on her thing, and she just takes it, she just touches the thing to it. There's no like rhyme or reason to the angle and stuff. It's just kind of like she just ticks the thing and just keeps going. And
I've seen that, but I haven't tried it.
Yeah,
I was going to say, for the amount of effort, I'd be tempted just to take it down to what is it, Carbide?
Yeah.
What's the name of the place we use for
Carbide
the guild,
saw.
Roger?
Yeah.
Carbide saw.
Yeah, Carbide saw.
Yeah.
Richard Rappin describes the same process in this book of just touching the top of the blade.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it, but I just happened to read that a few days ago. Actually,
I think Mahoney did that in the Cascade demo he did a couple months ago. And yeah, it's really quick. As Harvey said, you just touch it for a second and move on.
What are they using? What are they touching it with?
The grinder, the CBN.
Yeah, the grinder.
Okay, take the blade off the saw, hold it up to your spinning grindstone, and touch the tips. Is what I think the video. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah. It's really quick.
I think you'll find also gloves are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they save your fingers. I've cleaned the ones at the woodworking guild, and I've poked my fingers a few times. I actually need to find out who's got a decent resaw blade, because I put a riser block on my 14-inch.
Hmm.
And it
I
came
have
with
a
a 3/8, and it's like, man, that thing wanders all over the place. And I need something that'll cut a little straighter.
I have a Laguna resaw king.
Okay,
And
Carbide
do you
tip.
run that on a 14-inch, John?
it's a 105-inch.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
from what I've read, and I've seen quite a few people have problems with the carbide tooth resaw blades,
Yeah.
that the 14-inch is too small of a diameter and it causes a lot of stress on those blades.
You mean
Yeah,
we have to
I've been
buy
toying with just
another
going to
bandsaw?
Timberwolf and getting a couple of 3/4 inch from them.
Yeah, I go with I think 7/8.
Yeah.
And it does pretty well on my
Yeah, I'm
14-inch
just
Laguna.
the saw says 3/4 is what its maximum of holding capable of dealing with.
Dave,
It's a grizzly I ain't got from my dad.
Grizzly.
But the carbide ones, they just cut like butter.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I remember switching from regular to carbide on my table saw and how much a difference that made.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the carbide bandsaws blades are they're expensive, but they're worth it.
Yeah.
It was interesting with the Wood Whisperer had some experience with the carbide ones recently, and he realized that he could just go to a local saw shop and he could go through about 10 of those, just switch them out and have brand new ones all the time and come out still ahead of the carbide.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then you have to change it 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, changing's not that bad on a 14-inch. It's a different thing on a big 20 or 24-inch.
Usually changing it anyhow if you're doing some smaller detail work.
Yeah.
I don't know. Every time I go to the bandsaw, I look at the blade and say, is this going to get the job done, or should I put a better blade on?
How tight a circle am I trying to cut?
Back in January, I cut my hand. You can't see it now, but I got a scar, but I got about 5 stitches there because I had a brand new blade sitting next to my saw, but was still using the dull one and cutting some pretty spalted alder, and I'm cutting a circle and not paying attention to where the blade was going to pop through, and sure enough, it bit me. I jumped back right away, but I had to go get a few stitches.
Hmm.
So lesson learned
Yeah.
there. I put the new blade on the next day, and man, it cut like butter.
Yeah. You know, the guild has a relationship with SawStop, and a lot of the videos, you know, they've rented our shop a couple times to do videos, so we got to know the people pretty well. And they've had a pretty active engineering project going on to see if they could adapt the technology to a bandsaw.
They've been working
No
on the
kidding.
SawStop bandsaw for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were also working on a SawStop crosscut saw, but the problem is where do you fire the
Yeah.
blade when
Where does it go?
That's
Through the roof.
Yeah.
So they're
That's-
working on an excuse for us to buy more tools.
you bet.
I can't
Cool.
imagine why, but
But who really needs an excuse?
Yeah.
I look
Just need the budget.
I looked at getting a saw stop when I bought my new table saw, and I decided not to because I cut sheet aluminum on my table saw. And
You just got to use the bypass switch.
Yeah, as you can say, put on bypass, you're fine.
and yes, I agree. But every time you turn that saw off and turn it back on, if you don't remember to hit the bypass, you'll blow the part.
Yeah.
goes $60. Well, $60 plus the saw blade.
That's plus the saw blade, yes.
Right. So I didn't trust myself to remember every single time I turn that off, move my piece, turn it back on to go through the sequence of bypass.
Like on the bandsaw, how many people keep the tension on when you walk away, or do you release the tension?
I got the bar and I raise it.
Yeah.
I release it.
Release it.
I can't remember the last time. I
And then you go
remember.
back and turn the saw on with the tension not there, and then you just screwed up a blade.
No, I have a red. I have a little red flag that I put right on the front of the saw.
Yeah, I do
Probably
too.
work
I
on
just
your
don't look
band-
at it.
table saw too, wouldn't it?
My routine is I'll lower the guard down to the table. If the guard's down to the table, I know that the tension's off.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I've got a Powermatic, and it won't turn on if it's not in if the tensioning bar isn't in the correct position.
Oh,
Wow.
So you can't screw up a blade.
Hmm.
So
That's
one of the
nice.
things for the CBN wheels, one of the things I've done to clean my CBN wheels is just flip it over and use it so it's turning in the opposite direction.
Huh.
Mm.
And it seems to work a lot better. Because you
Apparently
can
you
put
can't
them
do that
on.
with a bandsaw blade.
Say that again, John. What are you talking about?
So, well, I skipped back to the CBN wheels, cleaning those.
Oh.
If my CBN wheel gets gummed up at all, I will take it and put it on the other side so it's turning the opposite direction and clean it that way.
Oh.
And for some reason, that seems to make it clean a lot faster.
Is that, well, it's, you're not pushing the stuff into the way it got gummed in. You're actually pulling it away from it.
Exactly. So, because I've actually used the wrong metal on my CBN wheel once or twice.
Yeah.
And did you just reverse it and then it got rid of it, or did you have to replace the wheel?
I just reversed it and it got rid of it.
Great.
I got a dumb question that's related to grinders and stuff. What do people do as far as getting into buffing? I don't have any. I've got something I could turn into a buffer, but I've never done it.
I like the BL 3-wheel that just you put on the lathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most cost effective, I think.
Yeah.
I bought mine 10 years ago and I still have the wax and the triple E and the white diamond for Nuba. I think I bought
Does
some
that
for
just
Nuba.
come as a kit type of thing?
You can, or you can buy them individually as well.
So those are my be-all wheels are over there, the 3 of them. And then I just bought a motor right there, built, and I got on my metal lathe and made an adapter so I can put my be-all wheels on that 1-horse motor.
I bought at the tool auction, there was that burnt up Nova. I bought that and made that into my dedicated buffer.
Oh, neat.
Oh, nice.
Works really well because I now have, total clearance instead of it being over the waist, so I can rotate the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the reason I'm asking is I've got a one of the what are they, Harbor Freight or Central whatever's one of the I think it was supposed to be a grinder, but it was one of those that didn't have shields. It just had the long spindles, and I can mount 2 of the 3 wheels onto it. I just need to figure out where in the shop I'm going to put it.
I didn't sell it as a polisher. I think though the speed might be a little high for an 8-inch wheel. I think they're like 3,500 RPM.
Yeah,
It'd be
they're
good for a
34.
6-inch wheel.
Yeah. Is it variable speed?
No, it's a fixed speed.
Yeah, I found variable speed when you're buffing is pretty important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then the Beal system might be the way to go.
Yeah.
It works. I have the 3. I just kind of leave it behind some wood by the lathe, and I've actually got some of the aluminum extenders. So if I just want 1 wheel,
yeah,
I can put the extender on. And I have extra. The wax wheel's usually the one I wind up using.
Yeah,
I
I use
find-
the extender too. And if you're like doing a bowl or something like that, you have a lot of ability to rotate it around the wheel.
The rotating
Because
the head is a good idea, though. I hadn't thought of that.
I'm
The
definitely
other
a
thing that-
minority, but I don't buff anything.
I almost don't buff anything anymore. So if you want to try the BL 3-wheel just to try it out, you can borrow mine.
I don't know. I've been impressed with buffing. All the spheres I do, the baseball stuff that I make, they're just buffed.
Yeah,
And they just really shine up really nice. But I tell you, if you haven't buffed before, you need a gorilla grip on anything you're buffing.
Yeah. You really get to learn and respect the rotation of the wheel and the way you're approaching it with your piece.
You can
And
bounce
putting
something off
something
all 4 wheels.
soft underneath it, putting something soft underneath it, like if you do it on the lathe, putting something over the bed, so when it rips out of your hands, it doesn't leave a big
Actually,
mark.
I found out I can hit all 4 walls.
particularly spheres. Buffing a sphere. It's like Nolan Ryan's throwing this thing back at the wall. Boom.
Also, with the 3-in-1 Beal buffing system, if you I don't like the really kind of plasticky carnauba hard wax shiny finish on it. So I'll just use the first two. Like I'll use the Triple E and then the white diamond and call it good.
Yeah.
I've been doing that too. And sometimes if you don't want even shiny like this one, this is a oak bowl. It's kind of a sheen. It's not real shiny. It looks shiny in this light, but that's just the white diamond only on walnut oil.
Yeah.
And it just gives it like a nice semi-gloss.
Yeah, well, if I'm only going to go with those two, I could get the wheels and throw them on there and see if yes, the speed is going to be an issue, but you can get variable speed. You can get variable speed controllers for it.
Yeah.
The first thing I tried was I got just some cheap ones that were on little arbors that you could chuck up in a drill or even in the drill press.
Yep.
They've got some cheap ones at Harbor Freight that you can do some smaller basic stuff with.
Yeah.
But if you do use the wax wheel, just a very tiny amount is all you need, because if you put too much on there, it just gums up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would expect it's like salad dressing. You put too much on it, it's not gonna come out well.
right.
I sometimes use Mike's wax and then buff it very lightly afterwards.
I've done that too.
Yeah, you can put the wax on outside and then just go to the cloth wheel, the linen wheel. That works real well.
You can even get a little shine just using it dry.
In the chat, I listed a guy had contacted me about laser engraving a shepherd's hook for a pastor. And I don't have a laser engraver or a CNC to do it. So I don't know if any of you guys can help him out or not.
I copied that post, John, and I know a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy.
Okay.
I got a guy. I also wanted to ask the group today if anybody's built the Mike Piece threading jig that's on the AAW.
No, but I'd like to figure out how to do some threading stuff.
I built a threading. I don't know if it's the same one, but there was a couple of years ago before I started buying threading jigs. Yeah, I have built them and they do work. So I'll have to look and see if it's the same plan.
I just downloaded this morning before the meeting.
Huh. Okay, well yeah. That looks remarkably like the one I built years ago, and it would work.
I took Bonnie's class many years ago and did a little box for my wife using her jig. I guess that was at Tom's shop back in the day.
100 years ago.
100 years ago, yeah. And I never did buy the spiral cutter, but I'm placing an order on McMaster for some other stuff, and I thought, I might as well just go ahead and get that spiral cutter, and then I can have it to maybe build this threading jig or something like it.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if anybody else had.
They will work. All you need is a way to advance it at a reasonable rate.
Right.
Because the cutter head that's not going to change any. It's just how do you move the piece?
How do you move the piece, and how do you make sure that the angle's right?
Well, the angle is really unimportant because your angle is in the cutting head. Because those are 60-degree cutting heads, and it's a screw drive.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more along the angle. Okay, the screw drive. So you don't actually have a.
So in this picture right here, there's the cutting head, and then you just move your chuck from your lathe to this tool, and then with the piece on it, it's threaded in that block there. So as you hand turn your piece, you're slowly cutting the threads and advancing the block, either the bottom of the box or the top of the box, and this spiral. This 60-degree cutter head is spinning on your lathe, and you just kind of rotate the piece around the cutter.
So the threads per inch is set by the
The lead
Yeah.
screw, the lead
And
screw
right.
that's in the block here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this article, he built two of them. He built a 10 thread per inch and a 16 thread per inch. So there's a 10 thread 3/4 and a 16 thread 3/4. And I think he says that the 10 threads per inch is better for softer woods like oak and or more open grain woods like oak, and the 10 threads per inch is better for your really hard woods. So
my frustration with some of the threading jigs is when you're fitting the lid or when you're fitting the two pieces together, if you're not dead on, once you take that thing off the lathe, getting it back in the same exact position, if you have to take another cut, is
very problematic.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you leave both pieces mounted on something you can remount positively.
Yeah.
So until the threads are done and it works, you don't part anything off.
Yeah.
I was going to say, at that point, you better have at least 2 chucks.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So,
that's there used to be a thing from Craft Supply. It was like a screw-on faceplate. It was a faceplate you put on the bottom, and then it's screwed onto another piece that was a 1 1/4 by 8 or 1 by 8 TPI piece that stayed on the lathe. So you could take your pieces off back and forth just by leaving that faceplate on the glue block or a screwdriver or whatever you wanted to do. So there are ways around that other than having chucks. Although who doesn't have more than one chuck, really?
well,
Some of us only have one.
Really?
Yeah.
Get
I haven't been at this long enough to have more
How
than one.
very European of you to have one chuck and many jaws.
so the chefware kit, that's the one that I started out with, and that's the one I still have. But I have it, but that was my frustration with that one. Is every time you cut a thread, if you're a little bit off and have to recut it, then you have to But I also have a Simon Hope one, and that one has a bail where I can flip it out of the way, check it, flip it back, and cut it.
Yeah.
Well, in his article here, he also talks about that a little bit. He made a little stop plate at the front of that sits on the ways, the bed of your lathe. So you back the thing out, test fit it, and if it's not right, you can slide it back into position and lock it down without removing your piece from the chuck.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Hey, Chris, was that article in this last week's email? Is that where it came from, or?
Oh, no. I was doing a
Where was
Google search on Bonnie Klein's threading jig, and this one came up. I think it was published in the AAW.
Just one of
Been
their
a couple
journals.
years.
Okay, I'll search for it. Thanks.
Or
Sounds
You
like
should,
a good,
you should be able to go to AEW and search for a threading jig, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I could upload this article on our website, couldn't I, Roger?
You can send it to me and I can upload it. Yeah. Or you can
Okay.
put it in the forum.
You say you could probably put the link to it in the forum.
Yeah. Just put
You
Yeah.
don't have to send the whole article.
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll put it in the
Okay.
forum.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Sounds like a good show and tell for us at the next meeting there, Chris.
I still think the hand threading is the easiest way to do it, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah.
Well, is the hand threading basically a wood version of a tap and die?
Yeah, except there's 2 parts to it, and and actually I've used tap sets to cut threads also. I've cut bolts in half and used those as the teeth for the thread. So there's lots of way to do it.
I use my hand threader to clean up the threads if I need that last little cut rather than
Yeah.
get it in the jig.
Yeah.
Hand chasing it requires skill, Mike.
No, it requires practice. It's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
No, it really is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get
there
past that
is.
curve,
Yeah.
But you got to start with the right wood. I mean, if you don't use a good wood that can accept threads, then it's frustrating as hell.
Or if you don't treat your softwood with super glue before you try
Yeah.
to thread it, that works really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would stabilizing help on that?
It would. Stabilized wood threads like a charm. It's plastic, of course it does. No, but really, they just, if like, I've threaded maple, big leaf maple, and you just treat the area you're going to thread with super glue, and you cut a line of threads, you put on some more super glue, and you cut them a little deeper. You stabilize
Do
it.
you use
The real
use
thin,
accelerator on it or just
No.
let it run?
No.
but use a real thin super glue.
Yeah,
Yeah, the thinnest stuff you can, so it'll soak in, right?
right.
Get in between the threads.
Yep. And you go back in and you just, it just cuts away and it hardens the wood enough that it works really well.
It's a little bit like finishing pens with the super glue. It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, it's a little after 10, so.
Anyway,
thanks for your time.
anyone who needs a sharpening jig setup, that is the jig, the CBN wheels, and the Wolverine jig, I got one. Gotta make new room for the new.
Cool. Okay, guys, thanks for calling in and
See y'all
participating.
later.
Take
Later.
care, everybody.
Good one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.